Hello. So, I wanted to make a video about the Hanwei Practical Plus, but let's be real here. Everyone in the sword community really knows about these, and if you're not from the sword community, then there's about 100 reviews to look up. I might as well just say it's a great sword with some minor flaws and end the video there. But I'm not going to. I wanted to make a video about the sword, but also using it as a vehicle to talk about the search for a practical katana. Because that's the thing, the Hanwei Practical Plus has a bit silly name today. Throwing in practical there just sounds kinda weird. But when the practical line came out, it was not. It was a serious advert. Back then, getting a real sword was a bit of a journey. Not that it isn't now, but when I first hijacked the family computer back in the early Bronze Age to look at swords, most of what you found was real ninja sword, I swear, for $59.99, and Sword of Unlimited Destiny, one of a kind, for $2,000. And both will be made out of stainless steel and break the second someone gave them a mean look. Finding real swords meant doing some real research and going from word of mouth from various sword enthusiasts. So calling your sword lineup practical and showing that it was really worked. Nowadays, if you Google how to katana, you'll be blasted with more info than can be consumed in a couple of lifespans. Which is of course another problem. Everyone knows today, after 2 minutes of Googling, that real swords are made out of some type of carbon steel and whatnot. But can you really tell the difference between two handmade 1095 clay tempered katanas? They can be amazing, but also break on the first cut if not proper made. So the problem now is not finding a handmade carbon steel sword in a sea of seemingly made out of plastic, but finding a good one. Now that is of course where reviews come in, and sites like Sword Buyer's Guide and My Armory. For example, when you are shopping for katanas and every single sword you find is described with enough Japanese language and sword terminology to confuse even an Edo period samurai, you can usually find info about the maker and sometimes even the model you are looking at online, making your life easier. Now, even though I have loved swords since I was a lad, actually owning one has been much more of a recent event. I finally got my first sword a year ago and have been losing most of my paychecks on more swords since. Here is where the Practical Plus sneaks into the light. I wanted to buy the most safe katana I could get my hands on, something robust and reliable. And after a deep dive on various forums, I made my choice. Most of the info you find, like the sword itself, is a bit old, but very positive. The competition today is much fiercer than it used to though, so it's still a great buy. Well, let's see. The Practical Plus is a bit more expensive version of the Practical Katana. The difference being better fittings and more traditional construction method. The blade is made out of 1566 high carbon steel and is a rather slender blade. It has real hamon in a simple wavy pattern and is without bowie. It has a handle with leather wrapping and simple fittings. You'll usually have to pay around 300 euros for a new one. I'm not going to spend too much time describing the sword, since there is so much info on it, but I will describe my time with it and talk about some pros and cons. In addition, I'll give my opinion on whether this sword still holds up after all this time. I got this as my second real sword, the first being a Orion sword katana with a color blade that I did not dare to cut with. I just wanted something that I did not have to worry about too much, something robust. I had my sights on a Hanwei Raptor and a Ronin Katana Dojin Pro first, but the Raptor was out of stock everywhere and the Dojo Pro was impossible to ship to Europe. So the search went on. I had heard about the practical katanas for a long time and they were easy to find, so now it was just navigating the confusing model naming. The practical line had lots of options. The XL, Light, Elite, Plus, Elite, XL Light, and so on. but after some digging on the sword buyer's guide, it stood between the XL and the Plus. I went with the Plus, as I wanted the most stereotypical katana shape as possible. I ordered it from Southern Swords, and after a week the package was at my door. The sword was well protected in a foam box with a cardboard sleeve bearing the Hanwei logo embracing it. First impressions were really nice, and I went to cutting straight away. So the negatives first, and it's really just one thing: the handle. Hanwei are known in the sword communities for making thick handles, and this handle lives up to that. It's not unwieldy, but noticeably thicker than most of the other katanas I have. It makes it rather robust, and some could say that it's up to personal preference, but I will make a case for it being rather ungracious. It also has a leather wrap, which I don't like, but that's just personal taste. Now to the positives, and that's, well, pretty much everything else. This has been my primary tool for learning cutting, so I've used it a lot the last year, and the sword has really impressed me. It cuts well, keeps the edge sharp, and feels good to move. It's also rather robust. I've hit the wooden sword stand I use for cutting countless times, and it has no damage to show for it. Is it still a worthy purchase then? Yes, absolutely. You will most definitely find something more aesthetically pleasing on the market for around 300 euros, but this sword shines in usability. It's easy to get lost in today's sword market, with a lot of katana sellers really hoping you won't know what Damascus or Tamahagane actually means, seducing you with colorful sword pictures so you won't stop for a second to reflect on the fact that actually finding an L6 blade under $200 is insane, and is probably not well made. If it's a reliable cutter you're after, I will give the old Practical Plus a go. It still stands strong. And that's about it. I won't steal any more of your time for now, so thanks for watching.